Meanwhile, President Trump says he wants to speed up talks for a new trade deal with Mexico, Canada as well, but probably Mexico is really the priority. This is coming a day after Mexico kicked off the countdown on trade negotiations. So the president commented on NAFTA yesterday. Listen to this. Got to get your reaction here, Gary.
NAFTA has been a catastrophe for our country. It's been a catastrophe for our workers and our jobs and our companies. They're leaving our country. I want to change it, and maybe we do it. Maybe we do a new NAFTA, and we put an extra F in the term NAFTA. You know what the F is for, right? Yeah. Free and fair trade. Not just free trade, free and fair trade, because it's very unfair.
And of course, people want to see fairness. But, Gary, also the president, according to the White House website, the president will withdraw from NAFTA if the U.S. does not get a better deal. We know he signed an executive order, like on day 2 or day 1, to withdraw the U.S. from the TPP. What are you hearing from CEOs? This is the one area of the president's economic plan, you know, that unnerves people and worries that we're going to see a trade war, and that would be disruptive for the economy.
Look, Maria, no one wants to see a trade war, but we do want to see, as the president said, we want to see a free and fair trade policy. We understand how important trade is to our economy, both as an importer and an exporter, and we want to have a fair and level playing field for our products as well as products made abroad.
So how soon do you think the president will start doing new trade bilateral deals with countries? Because, I mean, that's the... You know, that's the detail that people want to know. Okay, we want to undo NAFTA, do a new trade deal with Mexico. How soon into this do you think he's going to be able to do bilateral deals with all these other countries so that we do still have free trade in place, but it's fair?
Well, Maria, there are many policies, procedures, rules, and laws that we need to follow in negotiating different trade agreements with different countries. We are going to follow the letter of the law in renegotiating our trade agreements. We are having very constructive and very open conversations with our major trading partners. I am very optimistic that we are going to end up in a good place on trade, especially with Mexico and Canada and our most important trading partners.
And let me ask you about this border tax, because, Gary, we didn't hear anything about a border adjustment tax on the campaign trail. And, you know, President Trump is talking all about lowering taxes for most Americans out there, and that's one of the reasons he was voted in. But what would a border adjustment tax do to that? Yesterday we had Steve Forbes on the program, and he said, avoid any border adjustment tax. That's going to send prices for consumers higher.
Look, Maria, you know, in redoing our tax policy, there are going to be numerous different ideas thrown at how to cure the problem. We in the White House, in conjunction with the House and the Senate, we are going to come up with the best plan for all Americans. We will look at every option. We will evaluate every option. We will understand both the intended consequences and the unintended consequences, and we will come out with the best plan for everyone.
I know your priority is getting to economic growth. Do you think we could actually see economic growth of 3 and 4% in 17, or is this an 18 target, 2018?
Look, we're going to try and stimulate economic growth as fast as we can. You know, we're going to be realistic as well. We think that the second half of 17, we will start to see a lot of growth as we implement some of the changes that we can put in. Some of the things that we're going to do, as you and I have been talking about this morning, you know, don't happen instantaneously, whether it be change to health care, change to tax, trade agreements. These things take some natural time. The place where we can have the most impact is in winding back and undoing some of the regulation that is impeding the growth and impeding businesses growing in the United States. So if you see what we're doing right now is we're trying to impact the economy and impact economic growth as soon as we can by rolling back some of the regulation that we do think is impeding growth in businesses day one.
What do you want to say to those skeptics out there, Gary, who say, look, they're going to roll back regulations. This is, you know, Gary Cohn is from Goldman Sachs. This is going to help the banks. This is going to help the rich. Already you've got the skeptics out there saying rolling back regulations is not going to trickle down to the little guy out there.
Well, I would disagree with them completely. If you look at the data and you look at all the facts, the regulation has cost the little guy. The big guys can afford the regulation, and what you've seen is the bigger firms get bigger and the smaller get hurt or they don't get created. You know, if you look at something that you and I both know about, and that's banks, look at what's happened to bank creation since Dodd-Frank. We used to create a lot of banks in this country. We used to create small regional banks, local community banks. We don't create banks in communities anymore in this country because you can't afford to create a bank with all the rules and regulations. Now what you do is you lose banks every year in this country because small community banks can't afford to live with the regulatory costs. So what's happening is the bigger banks get bigger and consumers have less choice.
Yeah.
I'm using banks as an example, but that exact same scenario is playing out in every industry group and every category where regulation has taken over.
Actually, you make a great point, Gary, because the fact is we've got more bankruptcies than we actually have startups. I mean, we're not seeing the kind of startup activity that we did see 10 years ago. Let me ask